Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Art and Science of Aging Well, a Physician's Guide to a Healthy Body, Mind, and Spirit, by Mark E. Williams, M.D., narrated by Tom Perkins. Preface. "Begin at the beginning," the king said very gravely, "and go on till you come to the end, then stop." Lewis Carroll, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. Mae West. We are often led to believe that aging is something that simply happens. You might lose your memory, or you might stay sharp. You might remain strong, or you might wither and weaken. You might enjoy yourself, or you might be miserable. But while many things are indeed beyond our control in life, the truth is that we have considerable choice in determining the quality of our own old age. My aim in writing this book is to offer a more accurate, realistic, and helpful portrait of human aging than what you would have likely encountered in the mass media, in the workplace, in our broader culture, and perhaps in your own inner thoughts and fears. What we are up against is ageism, the mistaken belief that all old people are the same and that they are falling apart. Buying into this destructive myth causes personal, social, economic, and health care tragedies. The relentless focus on preserving our youth devalues the personal and social significance of old age and robs us of many of the diverse pleasures that aging can bring. This book does not advocate for a certain type of old age, and it does not propose a new norm of aging. Rather, it endeavors to provide practical and philosophical insights that I hope will help you face down ageism, find opportunities for personal growth, and approach your own aging with optimism and perhaps even joy. Through observations of the diversity of experiences that come with aging, this book celebrates our intrinsic value as human beings, a value that does not diminish with the passage of time. I came to write this book because I have seen way too many people shortchange themselves of the old age they deserve. For nearly 4 decades, I have been a practicing physician in the field of geriatrics, the care of elderly people. Indeed, I am part of one of the first cohorts of American doctors formally trained in that medical specialty when it emerged in the late 1970s. My patients, who average 83 years of age, come to me for help and guidance as they navigate the physical and emotional changes that accompany growing old. I have had the privilege of knowing many inspiring older people who take life by the horns, continuing to work, play, create, and smile until their last days. But I have also seen far too many people, misinformed about aging and about the incredible opportunities around them, limiting themselves unnecessarily simply because of their age. This needless loss of human potential and productivity is staggering. I conceived of this book as an effort to help more people overcome society's biases and enjoy full productive lives, all the way to the very end. Before we begin, curious listeners may want to get to know me a bit better. I grew up in the rural South in a very small hometown community where people spoke to each other on the street and sat on the front porch, or took long walks after supper. As a child, I pored over the perception puzzles in my favorite magazine, Highlights for Children, and voraciously consumed the entire canon of Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories. I discovered at a young age the enchantment of performing magic, a hobby I have continued to foster to this day. Looking back, I realized that throughout my childhood passions ran a common thread, a fascination with mystery and the distinction between how things appear to be and how they actually are. I found myself dwelling in this appearance versus reality distinction again when I gained a liberal arts education and then went on to pursue medical training. As a young medical student, I began to feel an uneasiness that something was not quite right. The mid-1970s had seen major scientific and medical advances with great promise to relieve human suffering, but the application of this knowledge was often ineffective, especially in the treatment of elderly people. I saw far too many instances where old people were not being treated as people. A 2-year stint as a Robert Wood Johnson clinical scholar crystallized my sense of social responsibility and solidified my resolve to improve medical care for older people. My research interest focused on understanding the epidemiology of dependency. Why did some people go into nursing homes while others with similar diseases did not? Is there a subset of skills we all need to maintain our independence? I created an original testing protocol that timed individuals as they performed 27 simple manual tasks, chosen to reflect the skills we need to live independently. For example, subjects would use a teaspoon to transfer dried kidney beans from one bowl to another to simulate eating. Other tasks involved opening various locks and latches. To summarize over 20 years of my research life, the total time it takes an individual to perform these basic tasks is intimately associated with that person's future need for nursing home care. Individuals who take an excessive amount of time are at high risk to enter long-term care, whereas those who are quick and efficient are at low risk, regardless of the diseases on their medical problem list. After beginning that research adventure, I decided, with the full support of my loving wife, to whom I am eternally grateful, to pursue a career in geriatric medicine. I thus became one of the first physicians in America to receive formal fellowship training in this area. At the time, the decision was a bold one, and more than once I heard instructors, colleagues, and friends questioning my judgment. What is a person like you going to do in geriatric medicine? Interestingly, several of my most vocal skeptics have since migrated into geriatrics careers. Within a decade, I was offered the best job in the country, developing the geriatric medicine program at my alma mater, the University of North Carolina. Another extraordinary stroke of good fortune placed my new office adjacent to Dr. Mac Lipkin Sr., one of the giants of clinical medicine who had retired to North Carolina to continue his teaching and writing. We established a close friendship, shared clinical perspectives, and had many conversations and tuna fish sandwiches. I was stunned when Dr. Lipkin asked me to be his personal physician. Our relationship deepened, and I was honored to share the personal insights and perceptions of a wise, sensible, and articulate physician. Over time, I came to know the aging process intimately by witnessing it in Dr. Lipkin, in my hundreds of other geriatric patients, and in myself. The years since have been busy and productive. As I grow personally and professionally, I learn a great deal from my patients. My dedication to improving the care of older people has expanded beyond my teaching responsibilities and active medical practice, and the idea began to coalesce for a multimedia approach to provide a comprehensive look at growing old. The chief components are this book and eventually a major documentary video series. The 5 secrets presented here represent my personal and professional experiences that have been informed and enriched by a variety of sources over the decades. Because I am primarily a clinician, much of the material in this book comes from my clinical experience. You will also find it heavily sprinkled with insights from other branches of human knowledge, as well as my own personal reflections. One cannot separate the mind from the body, and in looking at aging, I find biology, psychology, history, culture, and spirituality to be intricately interwoven. This book is not meant to be the last word on aging. It is a personal view with all my biases, blind spots, and limitations, and it will not surprise me if others do not always share my opinions. There are many ways to accomplish the goal of aging well, and there are numerous books on aging and health. I am reminded of the ancient parable of men examining an elephant in a dark room. Each man felt a part of the elephant and came away convinced that he had real knowledge of the beast. One man felt the legs and concluded that an elephant was like a column. Another felt the ears and was convinced that the elephant was like a broad leaf, and so on. Those who heard the men were befuddled by the diversity of descriptions and the passionate conviction of each observer. Ultimately, what was needed was to turn on the lights and view the elephant directly, rather than attempt to reconcile the disparate points of view. I hope this book can provide at least a little illumination to help you face directly the mysterious elephant that is human aging. This book is not conceived to show you how to stop or reverse the aging process. It does not promise eternal youth or advocate anti-aging strategies. Rather, it presents various perspectives on how our minds, bodies, and emotions change with the passage of time, and offers some concrete actions each of us can take to lead healthier and happier lives. The perspective of biological change looks at our systems from a scientific point of view to unravel how, and sometimes why, aging changes our bodies and brains over time. An equally important perspective is how we interpret and deal with these changes and what adaptive strategies best ensure our success. At the heart of this book is a sincere desire to help you develop the perspective and tools to remain happy, productive, and creative, despite the inevitable changes we all face. For the first time in human history, most of us can expect to live well into our 80s. Because human longevity has increased so rapidly, the average life expectancy at birth has nearly doubled over the past 100 years, most of our experiences and beliefs about aging and elderly people are far out of date. We are literally living in the past. Counter to many of the stereotypes and assumptions that have persisted from these earlier days, it is clear now that there is considerable interplay between our biological aging, our specific life circumstances, our attitudes and beliefs, and the lifestyle choices that we make. Ultimately, each of us is the beneficiary of our investments in aging well, and, to a large extent, we reap what we have sown. Who among us does not deserve to harvest the very best? This book has been a selfish pleasure for me to write, and my hope is that it will stimulate your thinking about aging and health. The more complete our understanding of aging, the better prepared we will be to address the daily challenges inherent with growing older. We each have two eyes that do not see the same things in exactly the same way. It is because of each eye's slightly different perspective that our brains can perceive depth. By presenting a point of view on aging that may be slightly different from yours, I hope that we can, together, create a greater depth of perception on aging and the end of life. In the words of Robert Browning, 1812-89, in the first verse of his poem Rabbi Ben Ezra, "Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be. The last of life for which the first was made, our times are in his hand. Who saith, a whole I planned, youth shows but half. Trust God, see all, nor be afraid." Prologue. A parable and a framework for aging well. There is an ancient Sufi parable of the horse, carriage, driver, and master. Their trip represents not a leisurely excursion, but the journey to fulfill one's destiny. In the ideal circumstance, the master is making steady progress toward the goal in a well-maintained carriage, being driven by an experienced driver and pulled by a strong, well-trained horse. In reality, however, it too often happens that the driver is drunk in a public bar, having abandoned his responsibilities. Rejecting the idea that he is a servant of a higher master, he wastes his time, money, and energy, and neglects the horse and carriage. As a result, the horse is untrained, starving, and weak. The carriage has fallen into disrepair. The master, knowing his carriage is unfit for travel, is stuck where he stands. This parable is a powerful allegory of the need to balance and maintain the mind, body, and emotions in order to complete our personal journeys. The carriage symbolizes our physical body with its instinctive, sensory, and motor components. The horse represents our emotions with our energies, feelings, fears, and desires. The driver signifies our intellect with its ability to observe, think, compare, and concentrate. The master is our soul, the essence of who we really are. Only when everything is in balance and in good working order can we find and pursue our personal destiny. The neglectful driver's state of drunkenness illustrates our self-deception through illusions, daydreams, fantasies, indulgences, and frustrations. With an intellect fed only by our sensory inputs, our past suffering, our prior conditioning, and a mechanical reaction to daily events, we fall prey to the seductive illusion that we are in control of ourselves and our destiny, when in fact we are stuck inside the metaphorical tavern. In this state, we fail to realize that outside we have a body that we need to maintain and emotions that we need to manage. As a result, our mind, body, and emotions are not even close to having a harmonious relationship with one another, and we waste precious time, energy, and potential. To break free of this cycle, we must first appreciate our reality. The driver must wake up and see his state for what it is. Aging Secret 1 reflects this step. Whatever our condition throughout life, coming face to face with the fact that we are growing old often provides an attention-getting shock, and the sudden realization that, with limited time on this earth, now is the time to get out of the tavern and on the road to fulfill our destiny. It is our intellect that must leave the comfort of habit and begin to rebuild our body and manage our emotions. Trying to restore balance by starting with the horse or the carriage will not work, because our bodies and emotions react to stimuli and cannot accomplish meaningful activity on their own. Having faced the truth of his state, the driver realizes he must learn how to repair and maintain the carriage by challenging his body and revive the horse by nurturing and disciplining his emotional self. He also realizes that he has some work to do on himself by becoming a more informed, skilled, humane, and humble driver. Aging Secrets 2, 3, and 4 address this process of self-examination and proper maintenance of our physical, mental, and emotional health. Once the preliminary work has been done, the driver realizes that each of the parts needs renewed interconnection. The horse must be carefully harnessed to the carriage and fitted with a bridle and reins. When everything is in its proper order, the driver can take the reins, mount the carriage, and go on some short practice rides to await the master's directions. Only then will the master appear and occupy the carriage. The driver must be patient, alert, and receptive to the master's guidance before they can proceed on their journey. This is the essence of Aging Secret 5. For me, this parable is an apt reflection of the crossroads that aging represents. Although many of us do not live to our full potential at every stage of life, we can, with proper preparation, care, and maintenance, have considerable control over our aging. An awakening begins when we recognize that at a fundamental level there is more to life than the mechanical struggles to maximize comfort or pleasure and to minimize pain or distress. Realizing that we can objectively observe our personal situation, we can then begin to take corrective action. Perseverance, the triumph of willpower, becomes vital as we establish and maintain a more positive and realistic approach to our aging. According to a Buddhist saying, if we are facing in the right direction, all we have to do is keep on walking. How can we know if we are facing in the right direction or making progress? One way is to keep our failures from causing self-pity. Robert F. Kennedy said in his 1966 Day of Affirmation address, "Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly." Real effort and real action are needed, not half-hearted action and effort. None of the secrets for aging well will work without continuing effort. There are no shortcuts. The basketball player who fails to practice and casually tosses the ball toward the basket is not likely to score. The gardener must dig, remove weeds, water, and keep up the process for the entire gardening season in order to enjoy the bounty at season's end. This work is yours and yours alone. Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else. Attributed to Margaret Mead. We are each distinctive creatures, and in my experience, we only grow more unique as we age. If we are ever to fulfill our destiny, it will have to come out of our own experience and perseverance, not those of someone else. By discovering our own deepest sense of living within the time that is given us, we can discover what best cultivates a blossoming of our humanity and dedicate ourselves to that. The initial work on our intellect, body, and emotions is very different from the work of restoring an appropriate balance among them. The connections we develop within ourselves are like those bonding the horse, carriage, driver, and master. The harness attaching the horse to the carriage is a firm, direct attachment. The carriage will always follow the horse as our bodies always respond to our emotions. Try to think of an emotion without a corresponding physical feeling or reaction. There are none. The driver communicates with the horse through the reins, a more subtle communication than a harness. The horse must be trained to respond to the reins to move forward, stop, or change direction. The horse cannot appreciate or understand the thoughts of the driver, but can respond to guidance from the reins. Finally, the driver must be awake and attentive to the invisible medium of the master's voice and completely loyal to following the master's direction. The journey to fulfill our destiny usually contains unforeseen detours and diversions. The driver cannot say to himself, "Now that the journey has begun, I can take over because I think I know where we are going." The driver is obliged to be humble, attentive, and diligent as he executes his responsibilities in service to the master. Strong patterns of habit tend to keep us in a comfortable state of intoxication. We need to become aware of our habits and the power they have over our consciousness, and we must learn how to reduce their influence on our actions, reactions, and behaviors. An irony is that we really give up nothing of value through this awakening. What we lose is self-deception, fear, and suffering. By starting to notice how we react to and interact with the outside world, we can begin a process of uncritical self-observation. Through this process, we can recognize and modify the habits that keep our intellect drunk in the tavern and develop a new reverence for our intellect, body, and emotions. Our driver may now experience a new level above ground, sitting on the carriage box. We might have flashes of intuition and feel a deeper sense of connectedness with other people and with the world around us. We grow into a better sense of what we need to do and how best to do it. Things then begin to feel more balanced and productive. We have more energy and vitality. This book offers some of the tools to help you move this process forward. In some versions of the parable, the driver must slowly begin the journey while awaiting the guidance of the master. That presence of the master cannot be forced or demanded. Like appreciating a shooting star or finding a sand dollar on the beach, there will be no preamble with warning shots or trumpets to announce the master's presence. We must simply be patient, attentive, and vigilant, and know how, where, and when to look and listen. With diligent self-observation and careful maintenance of the horse, carriage, and driver, our intuitions deepen, and finally we appreciate the master's presence in the carriage. Only now does the driver realize that the master has always been there, patiently awaiting the opportunity to communicate the appropriate route. Now is the time to start our journey. Aging Secret 1. Appreciate your reality. There is no cause for fear, It is imagination blocking you as a wooden bolt holds the door. Burn that bar. Rumi. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. Robert Louis Stevenson. Most of us spend a large portion of our lives seeing older people as other. We were all at some point children, so we remember to a certain extent what that was like. As we reach adulthood and journey through middle age, we discover our interests, find an occupation, carve out our niche in the world, and perhaps build a family of our own. Along the way, we create identities for ourselves that stem from our roles in the family, workplace, or community. But although we all encounter older people throughout our lives, and may have the opportunity to watch loved ones grow into old age, the view of older people as a group different from oneself often remains stubbornly persistent. The truth is that old age is not some distant place or group of others, but an integral part of who we are now. The body we reside in today is also our future dwelling place in old age, and at any age we are all people, equally valuable, capable, and worthy. The essence of Aging Secret 1 is to face the truth that we are likely to grow old and to begin to consider what this means to each of us. In the analogy of the horse, carriage, driver, and master introduced in the prologue to this book, the first step is for the driver to emerge from the tavern and critically examine his own state and that of his horse and carriage. With this examination, I hope you will see, perhaps with some relief, that your later years do not have to be marked by deterioration and fear. In many ways, old age can be more a culmination of life than a prelude to death. Of course, although aging is an intimate, personal process, it does not occur in a vacuum. The larger demographic trends of one's society and the way in which aged people are perceived and treated greatly influence the experience of growing old. Today, the United States, in common with other nations, is undergoing a social revolution, one rooted not in a new ideology, but in our changing population patterns. For the first time in history, infants in fortunate nations like ours can expect to live well into their 80s. This demographic revolution increases pressure on resources, as it also creates further social change and new opportunities for older people. Many of our deep-seated cultural stereotypes do not describe accurately the new wave of elderly people or their potential contributions to society. The next few chapters aim to create a more realistic picture of aging by taking a critical look at the roles, understanding, and perceptions of aging and older people in our society today and in the past. The central conflict of aging is between you today and you in the future. Who are you becoming? How will you look? What will you be able to do physically and mentally? What goals and projects will you pursue? How will you handle crises, the end of life? From the beginning of history, people have asked these questions and have searched for ways to approach the later years with grace, productively, creatively, and with satisfaction. Each of us influences the answers to these questions through the choices we make in earlier years. If you avoid premature death, you are ultimately obliged to live in old age whether you develop a satisfactory image of yourself or not. You have a choice in the attitude you take about your own aging, and that attitude will be a critical factor in your success. The first order of business is to appreciate your reality and develop an understanding of what you can expect as you grow old. Then you can examine for yourself the rich potential of your later years. Chapter 1. You'll probably grow old. He who loves practice without theory is like the sailor who boards ship without a rudder and compass and never knows where he may cast. Leonardo da Vinci. We must be willing to let go of the life we've planned to have, the life that is waiting for us. E.M. Forster. For the first time in human history, many of us can realistically expect to live into old age. A baby born today in most parts of America, Europe, and the Pacific Rim has a better than 50% chance of...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?